I freaking love these when it comes to landscapes. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Play, and today I'm going to be playing with some of the Derwent Graphitint. It's been a while since I have used these products, and I've really been missing them. I particularly love these for landscapes, so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to do just a small little landscape, and this is not going to be a step-by-step tutorial, but I will kind of be giving you an overview of how I like to use these products and why I love them so much for landscapes. So let's get to it. Okay, so jumping into the project, I am doing this on Fluid 100 hot press watercolor paper, and this is like a 6x8, so it's a nice little size. I am sketching very lightly for my preliminary outlines, and this is going to be just a nice summer day. I hinged it on the corners with some tape so I could position where I wanted it on my table, and I almost forgot to tape it all the way around, but then I came back in and taped it all the way around to keep it nice and flat. But this paper works really well. I think it's 140 pound. It works great for water media. And I went in, initially I had tried to use my pans to create the washes, but then I realized that for some reason, my pans have a lot more graphite to them than color. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this product, these are water-soluble graphite pencils in pans with color added to them. So that's where it's the Graphitint. It's tinted graphite. And so there is a high graphite content in these. So you're always going to have a little bit of that graphite color underneath, creating a nice antique-y look. But I realized that for some reason, my pan set seems to have higher graphite to color ratio than my pencils do. Let me know if that is your experience, if you have both the pans and the pencils. Do you notice that? Because I feel like the pencils are more vibrant in color, whereas the pans have like a lot more of the graphite look. So I had originally started out doing the sky with the pans, but it was a little bit grayer than I wanted. So I came in and finished it off with the pencils. I do have my Caran d'Ache palette off to the side where it has a rough side on it, and I scratch my pencils onto it and I lift it up with water and bring it over like that. And then also you're obviously going to see me using the pencils as is on paper and then washing them out after. Basically, I am using these in the same way I would use Derwent ink tints, and if you've seen my recent video on Derwent ink tints, then you know that I like to come in loose with washes first, and then I come in with detail with my pencils after. So a couple notes about this medium. Water-soluble graphite tends to be pretty permanent. I find that once it's washed out with water, it can be more difficult to erase than when you're just using them as pencils, and these are no exception to that. So regular water-soluble graphite tends to be that way anyways, and these are the same way. Now, that can be, a little bit of a hindrance when it comes to certain techniques, but it can also be a benefit. And the benefit is you can layer over these infinitely. They're very similar to ink tints in that way. Once you have washed them out, they're pretty permanent and you can continue layering over them. And I really, really love that. And again, water-soluble graphite tends to be that way anyway. However, that does make it more difficult to lift things out. I did find that once things are washed out, I had to let them dry completely, and then I was able to erase a little bit more, especially when I wanted to define my clouds and things like that. But even then, it can be a little bit difficult to lift it completely. I also bring in a craft knife later on to lift out some highlights as well, and I am able to scrape away some layers down to the paper and get highlights that way. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are going to work with this medium or any type of water-soluble graphite. But when you are using them as pencils, they do erase fine before you wash them out with water. And something else to note is when you first lay down the pencil, it doesn't look like it's as colorful as it actually is, but these really burst into color when you add water to them. And I don't know if I mentioned this video is not sponsored by Derwent. I bought these a while back, and I have a full review of the pencils. Actually, I have two different reviews, I think. I have a review of the pencils on the channel, and I also have a review of the pan set. I will link those in the description below if you want to learn more about these. Now, the reason why I love these for landscapes is because they have a nice nostalgic feel to them. And often when I want to do a landscape, I want my landscapes to feel like a memory. I want them to have like a sense of place and time, and I want them to take you somewhere. And I feel that the best way to do that is through a nostalgic feeling. And when you have something that is inherently almost antique looking as a medium, it's perfect for that. And I just really enjoyed that for this landscape. Now, I am working from my own reference photo. And it's a photo that I took from the passenger seat while my husband was driving. It's somewhere here in Maine. I couldn't tell you where. When we take day trips, I love to take a ton of photos. This is why I love having cell phones, because you can take quick photos right from the passenger seat when the car is moving, and you can still get some fairly clear photos. Now, I changed this photo quite a bit. The trees were originally on the opposite side, so I flipped it, and it actually was a much longer, more panoramic view, which I obviously cropped down so I could focus on this cluster of trees. And so even though this is loosely based on a real place, I made it my own because I decided what I wanted to focus on. I flipped it, and so it's actually a view of these trees that you couldn't physically get from where we were on the road, technically speaking, since the format has flipped. So really, it's like we're looking at it from the other side of the trees. So it's not actually a real place, but I was able to make something fairly realistic from it because I had the reference photo. So I always recommend take your phone everywhere you go and take random photos, and then you may not get perfect photos, but you can edit them in any way you want and make it your own. And another bonus to this for me is that I'll probably be able to reuse this reference photo multiple times. I'll be able to crop it in different ways and re-emphasize things and create something new with it each time in different media. So don't feel like that because you've already used a reference photo that you can only use it that one way, especially when you've taken your own references. Feel free to edit and change things and flip things and reuse references as many times as you feel necessary to get your message across in your art. The thing that I also love about using this medium for landscapes is the fact that it kind of challenges me color-wise. Because while these are really good landscape colors, again, we have that graphite, and it's a little bit different than what I'm seeing in the landscape itself. So I'm having to really think, what colors do I want for the foreground? What colors do I want for the background? And I'm still using the basic principles of landscape. I am trying to create atmospheric perspective in those distant hills. So the distant hills are going to be cooler, and they're going to fade as they get further away, and there's going to be less detail. And then as it gets closer, there's going to be more detail. And so I knew that I wanted the foreground to have the most contrast and the warmest colors, and the background to have the coolest colors and have less detail. And so keeping that in mind, those basic principles, it made it much easier for me to choose which colors I was going to use out of this set. Now, they only have the 24 colors available, so that also creates a unique challenge. But I love working with limited color palettes when it comes to landscapes as well, or just in general, because again, it really challenges the artist's mind to figure out which colors I want to use. Now, a lot of the colors that I brought in the front are more yellowy greens, but I also bring in my eggplant color, my purple, to create shadows and to kind of give more of a dynamic, contrasting colored theme to the foreground. And it's subtle. You may not even notice it because from far away it blends in. But using that color theory really helped to make those foreground trees pop as well. Now, I am working on a very small surface, and so it is really great to have pencils to do this with because you can get that fine detail with those pencil strokes. And that, again, is another reason why I love using these for landscapes. I didn't have a lot of time to work on this. I just knew that I really wanted to play with this medium again, and I was missing summer, and I wanted to do a landscape. It's been forever. And so I took a couple hours out of my day. This took about 2 hours to do, and I used a small piece of paper so I knew I'd have time to get it done. And all in all, it was such a therapeutic exercise, and I feel like I came up with something beautiful and nostalgic and really showcases the fantastic qualities of these pencils. Here is a scanned version of that landscape. I really feel like it's nice and moody, and I don't know, I just really love the effect. I will have small prints and products available of this piece on my print site. I will link that in the description below if you are interested. Okay, folks, that's it for this week. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you now see why I love using the Graphitint for landscapes. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already so you can see more videos like this. I will see you next week. You have a fantastic day. Bye.